I would like to welcome everyone who joined tonight. I believe we have people in Toronto, of course, and Montreal, Barcelona, someone in Vancouver as well. So there is no need to dwell in the challenges of 2020. However, it has been a year that has taught us all that we have more strengths than we thought. And it has probably help us to shape and increase our flexibility to change to the new challenges and to face uncertainty with courage. And I believe that tonight we're going to talk about a lot about being able to tolerate uncertainty and thrive in those times. So tonight we have Alfonso Garcia Velo, who is an ESADE alumni from 2004.
Yeah, that is correct.
Perfect, I got it. And I'm not going to talk much more about his professional profile and what he has done because he's going to get into that. And so without further ado, I would like to welcome Alfonso. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Pilar, for that wonderful introduction. It is very humbling, and you don't know how right you are when you said that we are going to be discussing things about uncertainty and resilience. Well, also, thank you so much to ESADE for giving me the opportunity to present tonight. This is very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I do hope that everybody that makes it, everybody that's here tonight can find value in what I'm about to say. Whether you are a total newcomer to trading or you have some experience in the field, I think we all should be able to find something to think about, so get some food for thought after tonight's presentation. So with that out of the way, I would like to go on and begin the presentation.
Wonderful, we're all ready.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you guys, thank you everybody for being here today. Most of you know this by now, but yeah, my name is Alfonso and I have been trading since, exclusively trading since 4.5 years ago. And thank you, Pilar, very, very much for inviting me to talk today. And I hope that you guys can find some value in what I'm gonna be saying today. And if not, at least it's gonna be entertaining, right? Okay, so, come on. There we go. Before I start discussing what is it that we're gonna be covering today, I want to start with this quote that I feel reflects very well what people that are going to be learning how to trade are facing. Hold on, because there you go. Hello, somebody else. Is this Juan? Okay, well, somebody just joined. Anyway, yeah, so this quote I feel reflects very well what people are going to go through in order to, while they learn to trade. I'm going to be saying this a number of times today, so bear with me. Trading is technically very easy. Technically very, very easy. Psychologically, though, it is probably the hardest thing you will ever have to do. And I do believe this quote is anonymous. I searched for the author. I couldn't find it. If there is an author, please forgive me. But yeah. All right. So what are we going to be covering today? Well, I want to start by discussing the disconnect that there is between what people think trading is like and the reality of trading. And I want to talk about it at different levels. I want to tackle it from different angles, because I think there's a lot that there is currently misunderstood about trading, and it's important that you guys get the right idea. If you have an interest in trading, you have to have the right expectations. Spoiler alert, this part of the presentation is going to be a little bit of a downer, okay? It's not gonna be sunshine and rainbow, really. From that point on, we are going to be focusing on more encouraging thoughts, and we're going to be discussing what is it that traders need to be successful in the long run. I also want to discuss some of the market that some of the market trends that COVID started. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about projects that I'm currently involved in. Like I said, I have been exclusively day trading or swing trading for what now seems like an eternity. So doing something else, even if it's still trading related, feels very refreshing. And at the end of it all, we're gonna do a little bit of Q&A. So if you guys have any questions or there's um, any stocks that you want me to take a look at, I'll be happy to do that, right? Okay, first of all, my background really quick. I have been trading full-time since June 2016. It was, as a matter of fact, a birthday gift to myself. I did not just wake up one day and decide that I want to trade for a living. That's not how it happened. It's been a very long road that has brought me here. I recently founded Barracuda Trading, and I also teach privately. My stats during months when I do well and the market behaves, my win rate can be 75 to 80%. When the market falls out of bed and it throws a fit, then my win rate will decrease to the mid 60s. I have experience trading Canadian miners, Canadian stocks, US penny stocks, cryptos for 2 minutes, and options. That's what I trade today, and that's where I focus. That's where I found my niche. Also, my aim 30% and the 25% loss, those are option figures. They are, everything with options is bigger, right? And then before I became a full-time trader, I was in finance and accounting. I had several analysis roles. I worked for companies such as Manulife, Colgate, Palmolive, the Marriott, etc. Now, why trading? Why trading? Well, I am originally from Spain and I was raised out in the sticks. So believe it or not, I was not exposed to the concept of the corporate ladder until later on in my life. And yeah, I was raised in a very entrepreneurial background. So in my mind, my mindset was always very entrepreneurial. I, from a very young age, always wanted to have my own business, to have my own project, right? Then I was exposed to the markets in the early 2000s, and I thought that, oh, wow, that's really cool, but that's where it stayed. I didn't take it more seriously until a number of years later when I started to study and I started to trade part-time and eventually turned it into a full-time thing. What I love about the markets is I I love playing chess with the market and my emotions as well. And it is something that I wake up looking forward to in the morning. All right. So, um, with that out of the way, let's start to discuss the difference between what people think trading is like and what you should really expect. And first of all, I want to talk about a few key concepts or key ideas that you may or may not be aware of. And the first is that anybody can trade. There's literally no barriers of entry. Anybody can click the mouse, but so many people fail. It's up in the 90%. Trading, the real challenge is psychological. You have to master the space in between your two ears. That's where the magic happens. Technically, again, it's very easy. Psychologically, very tough. And it's tough because you have to teach your brain to work with an uncertain outcome. Right? Your brain doesn't like that. Your brain rejects uncertainty. Not everybody is okay working with probabilities, right? It's very hard to teach your brain to do that. And also, one thing that newcomers don't realize is that you're going to be putting a phenomenal amount of hours after the market closes. Trading is not just the act of trading. Well, I mean, being a trader is not just the act of trading. There's a lot of work that's involved in it. after, behind the curtains, after behind the scenes, right? And there's two parties, if you will, or two market participants, if you will, that I hold responsible for creating a false image of what trading is like. First and foremost, online stock market gurus. They sell you hopes, they sell you dreams, but they don't tell you what the reality is like. I mean, just look at the guy on the right. That's the monopoly guy, literally sitting in cash. And I mean, I'm sorry, I just look at this, and even I'm supposed to be professional now, but it makes me laugh a little bit, okay? Um, so I'm not here to discuss whether or not these guys are profitable or not. I'm sure they're brilliant traders, but the truth is that they are selling a false image, and that false image is very dangerous for many people. Now, besides these guys, I also think that the financial media does no favors to traders specifically. Don't get me wrong, I think there is a lot of value in listening to these guys as an investor. Yeah, as an investor for sure. As a trader, however, you have to know how to identify where the opportunities are. You must be able to run your analysis every day on your own. You cannot develop a sense of dependency, and that's what I find some traders have with these guys. They pretty much charge them with finding the opportunities for them, and that's not what being a trader is like. And again, these guys, in my opinion, they're 100% more investment related. Whereas being a trader, sometimes you're in a trade for 2 minutes. So these guys, they do they do very little for traders. And in fact, I have seen interviews where the interviewee is literally forecasting the future. But guess what? They don't have a crystal ball, neither do you, neither does anybody. They don't know what's going to happen. So they talk from a position of knowledge that not always should be taken as, at the as they say it, right? Okay, now next I want to discuss what are some of the most common reasons to get into trading, or most common motivations, and what the traders find once they start to trade, what the reality is like. First, a big thing for people is financial freedom. People start to trade because they want to be free. They don't want to have a boss. They want to trade from anywhere they want. Well, turns out that when you first start to trade, you're anything but free. If you're doing things right, you're putting in so many hours every day, even after the market closes. And guess what? You have a boss. Your boss is the market, and your boss is going to decide when you get paid, right? So it is very, very, yes, you can trade from anywhere in the world, but you still need an office. You still need a reliable Wi-Fi. You still need a setup, right? So the idea of trading from under a tree in the Bahamas, that's in the movies. That's it. Now, more educated traders know that they need a strategy. They need to follow a strategy, and they are fully committed to following the signals that this strategy will give them. And as a matter of fact, it's not uncommon to be very successful when you first start to trade. It happened to me. It happened to a number of people. Why? When you first start to trade, you're terrified. The markets can be very intimidating, all right? So you feel like you need some sort of security or safety net, or something to validate what you're doing, something to follow. So that turns into you following your system to the T, which, guess what? brings results because that's what you're supposed to do, right? Now, once you have these results, you start to feel more comfortable. You start to develop confidence in yourself, and you start to open the door to emotions. Greed is number one. Then, after a number of things happen, fear, right? And guess what? Once emotions come into play, they're going to sabotage your system every step of the way. All right. Next, people might want to trade because they think it's cool. They think it's an exciting job. They like the thrill, right? Well, in reality, responsible trading feels very boring. Why? When, I mean, there's a lot of downtime, there's a lot of sitting in your hands, there's a lot of time spent outside of the markets waiting for a trade to align. And when you do put on a trade, you're risking such a small percentage of your account that win or lose, it doesn't matter. It takes the thrill away, right? In fact, I once heard a very successful trader say that putting on a trade should feel like a chore because you're thinking of all the work that you have to do after. And I'm gonna go into what you have to do after, but yeah, it shouldn't feel exciting. Actually, a good rule of thumb, if you are feeling excited when you put on a trade, you you don't have the right mindset, and B, you're probably trading too big with too much capital. Um, Now, and this is one of the biggest mistakes I find people make. Some traders might think that, or they might decide to sign up for alert services. Now, these services will text or email them alerts every morning or every week, telling them what to buy, at what price to buy it, what target to aim for, and what their stop loss should be. And while this sounds like a great idea on paper, the truth is that anytime you are not following a plan that you yourself created, you are just following, you're a sheep, you're following the herd. And when the price does something unexpected, which guess what? It's all the time. That's what the price does. You're, you're, you're going to start second guessing that trade, second guessing your decisions, second guessing everything, and your emotions are going to kick in, and you might get lucky with one or two trades like this, but eventually that's not sustainable. You're going to be taking losses. And finally, one of the reasons why people might want to get into trading is because they seek the social prestige. They want to get their neighbors' admiration or their co-workers' respect. The truth is that trading can be very lonely. True story, there have been solid weeks, solid periods of 7 days when my only human face-to-face interaction was with the cashier at the supermarket. If you are the type of person that enjoys having coffee with your coworkers in the morning or discussing ideas, at department meetings, then this might not be the right setting for you. Again, it's very lonely. Now, you could argue that you can join a trading group or a trading chat room, and I would love to point you back to the picture with all the sheep, because again, anytime you're not doing 100% of the thinking, your hands are not on the wheel, you're not managing your trades, you're not creating your trades, and that does nothing for your evolution as a trader. Also, I have been in chat rooms, and take my word for it, they take away too much bandwidth. They take too much focus. That's taken away from what you should be focusing on, which are the trades. Next, I want to discuss what is it that a day trader in particular, or trader in general, but day trader in particular, can expect the routine to be like versus what it's really like. Okay. First, Okay, so a day trader or a trader thinks that he's going to wake up in the morning, he's going to sit in front of the computer a couple of hours before the market opens. They're going to research the news, run some scanners, identify some possible trades, write plans for these trades, update watch lists, etc. And that is great. That is great. Then the market opens at 9:30, and maybe you wait for 15 minutes for the dust to settle a little bit. Then you trade after 9:45 until 11 or 11:30. That's when the volatility is high, which means that there are good trades to be taken. Then volatility goes away, so you also go away to do groceries or run your errands, whatever. And then you come back at 2:30 to get ready for power hour, which is 3 to 4. That's an hour again when the volatility is high and you can trade again. And then at 4, that's the end of the day, you're done. And while this is pretty much the gist of it, that's how it goes, a more realistic day to day would include a lot of wait time, a lot of sitting on your hands, a lot of making a very big effort not to jump the gun, not to pull the trigger and turn a perfectly good setup into a loser because you got in too quickly or too soon. Um, Frustration also because that one trade that you had been stalking for hours or even days finally gave you an entry, but it turned into a loser after 3 minutes, and you have to take it. You have to take those losses, but you have to take them and not let them affect you, because the next trade is going to care very little about your feelings, right? So you spend the day battling all these emotional challenges. And at the end of the day, when you are tired, frustrated, worn out, there's smoke coming out of your ears, you don't get to say done. No, that's when you have to write in your journal. You have to take a screenshot of all your trades. You have to log them, you have to review them, you have to identify your mistakes, etc. And guess what? To this, you have to add the stress. Why? Because as a new trader, you're going to be making mistakes. These mistakes are going to be taking trades that are too big, not taking your stop loss when you should have taken it, forcing trades because you are just sitting there, nothing is happening, and you want to be rewarded for your time, chasing the price, and a number of other mistakes that new traders make. They have to make them, but yeah, I mean, honestly, day trading in particular, but trading the beginnings are emotionally brutal. They're very tough. All right, now at this point, I think it's important that we analyze what traders do. What's their job description? Well, as a trader, you have to identify opportunities, whatever they are. You have to make an educated guess as to what the price is going to do next based on your system, and you need to benefit from that price movement. And you have to do all of this while making sure that your head is on straight, that your psychology is sharp. Can you do this day in and day out for a living? Yes, but it's very difficult. The odds are well against you. Also, like I said earlier, the outcome of any trade is uncertain. Your brain doesn't like this. You have to teach your brain to embrace uncertainty. And that is something that many people have a very hard time doing. Until you manage to do this, you will not trade successfully. Also, in the beginning, weeks or even months will be losers. Can you handle that, both financially and emotionally? Because it is tough. It is very heartbreaking to see that you have been trading well for 3 weeks, and then you have a bad day, or the markets just throw a tantrum, and you wipe out your entire gains for the month. And maybe if you're lucky, even the previous month as well. It has happened. Financially, it doesn't feel good. But emotionally, oh my God, emotionally, it is very, very hard. Now, having said this, it is possible to make trading a full-time job, but I find that having an additional reliable source of income on the side greatly enhances your odds of success. Why? Because if you have to trade to pay bills, you're going to be under a lot of pressure. You're going to be taking trades that you shouldn't be taking in the first place. If, however, you have money coming in from something else, that pressure is going to be less, and you're not going to be taking second class trades. You're going to be focusing on A plus setups, which in turn is going to translate into your results being a lot better. Also, if you have to invest your time in something else requires your attention, you're going to be trading less, which means that you're not going to be over trading or not going to over trade as much, which again is going to be very, very good for your results. All right, so bottom line, what everybody knows about trading is that, yeah, you can work from anywhere you choose as long as you have a proper office, whenever you choose. That doesn't mean that you can get away with working a couple of hours a day. You're going to be working a phenomenal amount of hours, but on your terms, whenever you choose. And yeah, for the successful trader, the lifestyle is great. It's second to none. What not everybody realizes is that this job takes many years to master, and it's very expensive to master it too. And also, because trading is psychological, everybody finds success in a different way. What might work for me might not work for you, right? Um, However, I will also say that success does lie in the same general direction for everybody. I'm going to go into that later. Like I said earlier, the act of trading is going to be the smallest part of your job. They're going to put in a lot of hours after that, and they're going to go unrewarded. You must be okay being wrong and moving on. You must be okay showing up to work after losing big, or you must know when not to show up to work because your psychology is not there. And like I said, technically super easy, psychologically super hard. And that is the scary part of the presentation. And I do hope I didn't lose everybody. All right, but from here, we're gonna move on to greener pastures, okay?
You sorry to interrupt you there and stop you for a second, because I have the impression you have this management style. You start super hard, so everything is going to be smoother. You have us all scared, and now things are going to go up
Yes.
or better. Can I ask you a question? Well, actually, while you were talking, and I know this is another time for questions, but I think it might be useful for what it comes after.
Mm-hmm.
What you were talking about is someone, or the scenario that you are creating is someone who is considering becoming a full-time trader. So what you were describing, or by the information that I have got, it appears that what you are advising is that a person who decides to do that should start like if it were maybe a business with a sort of a investment. I don't want to use that word because it said it's not like an investor, a trader.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had an amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
that was that the initial money, like in a monopoly, that you
Yeah.
start with an amount of cash,
No.
that you
Okay.
how
So
do you start
how
trading?
how do you start? How would I recommend somebody starts? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because it appears that what you were saying is you cannot trade if you need to pay the bills. It doesn't work that way. You need to use money.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought is, well, it makes sense. When you start a business, people usually ask for a loan to pay whatever it's necessary. So maybe if you want to start as a trader, what you need to do is to have a pile of cash that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to start trading with. and maybe you need to put into place some systems of
Um,
percentages of losses, of where you get, where you
okay.
stop.
Okay. So if you're going to start trading from scratch, it helps very much if you don't have any financial pressure, right? So say that you have 1 year worth of savings, you don't need to work for 1 year. Great. Do not put that money in the markets yet. Why? You have to teach yourself to be able to handle the risk mentally. You have to be okay losing. You have to be okay with the probability that you're going to lose money, right? And this I compare to going to the gym. If I go to the gym and I get used to lifting 5 kilos, that's great. Like I know this one movement, this, like a biceps curl I can do with 5 kilos. That's great. Awesome. If I go the next day and I try to do it with 70, the movement is exactly the same, but my muscle is not going to be able to take it, right? So when you start to trade, I suggest you start with paper money that's in the beginning, like basically to get over the initial stage. And after that, I suggest people start very, very small. And once you get used to the 5 kilos bicep curl, then make it 6.5, then 8, then 10, right? If people want to start too big from the beginning, their mindset, their brain, their risk tolerance is not going to be able to take it, right? So it's a very, or even if you want to grow your account too quickly, or the capital that you're trading with, the capital that you're exposing, if you want to grow that too quickly, your risk tolerance is not gonna be able to keep up with it, right? Does that answer your question? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
all right. Guys, I mean, there's only like a handful of us. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask me too, okay? There's gonna be questions at the end, but if there's something burning in your mind, then feel free.
Yeah,
Um,
so sorry if I interrupt
no,
a
no.
minute, but you're talking about the goal of being a full day trader, but uh, what do you think also of being in the trading sector, of being in a company that works with trading stocks?
Like a
What do you
professional,
think?
like
A professional career, yeah.
a prop, is this a proprietary trading company or trading firm where they basically give you capital to trade with?
Yeah.
That's that's definitely an option, and that's an amazing place to start. They will teach you how to trade. They will make you trade their system, right? But hey, if they're in business, it's because their system works. So if you have access to one of these companies, I think it's an amazing place to at least acquire good habits, because ideally, they're going to be very, very strict about you developing the right habits, right?
Hmm.
Um, I would be, I would do a lot of research before I go into any of these companies, because there's some really good companies and there are some really bad ones, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But the concept of it, I think it's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I would, even at this point in my career, I would consider it if they allowed me to respect my own strategies. Sure, yeah, I think it's an amazing idea.
Hmm.
Okay, shall we move on? Yes, I call the shots, so we're gonna move on now. Um, all right. So right, what is it that? Okay, first of all, the good news about trading is that you don't need to be born a trader. You can learn to be a trader, and it can be taught. Now, um, I see there are many million of trading courses out there that are a pre-recorded bunch of videos, which is great, but they don't do anything for my particular needs. Like we said, trading is psychological. I don't see how a video that's a one size fits all is going to address my specific needs. So these videos, they're going to teach you trading skills, but they're not going to teach you how to be a trader. One-on-one education, well, when you take the student and you take the time to understand what their level of experience is, what their background is, what weaknesses he or she has, what strengths, and then you're able to assess which, again, areas you need to cover with the most urgency. And based on the student's strengths, how are you going to capitalize on, on the time that he or she spends studying? Then you get a much more efficient use of the time, really. And I honestly think that one-on-one is the shorter way to get through the learning stage. I'm not saying that mass marketed courses don't do anything, but as a trader, trading is psychological. You need somebody to dedicate one-on-one attention to you, to understand who you are and to know what's the best way for you to move forward, right? And I know I said that everybody finds success in their own way, but I also said that success lies in the same general direction. And this next part of the presentation, I like to call it the Holy Grail of trading, right? Because it does exist. It does exist. It's something that people usually joke about. Oh, the Holy Grail of trading doesn't exist. It actually does. It actually does. Okay, so when you think of trading, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Usually money, right? I mean, freedom might also be there, but I think money gets the cake. Now, the human brain is beautiful. The human brain is a thing of beauty, but like we said earlier, it does not like uncertainty. It cannot grasp an uncertain outcome. It rejects it, right? That's why when people start to trade, their brain is wired to tell them that there has to be a way of predicting price movement with complete accuracy, right? So then they spend years trying different indicators, different strategies, different time frames, different products, different configurations, looking for that holy grail, for that one thing that's going to allow them to predict the price movement with complete accuracy, because that's what their brain is telling them. Sadly, what we get instead is that most traders lose money. Either they get tired and they give up, they never become consistently profitable, or they show up to the market year after year just to give their money away, right? Well, like I said, the holy grail of trading does exist, but where newcomer traders look for just one single secret, the truth is that there are 5 moving pieces that you need to observe, right? Now, before I tell you guys which elements these are, I want to make you understand why is it important, why is it imperative that they work together as a team, okay? Imagine that we have a Formula One racing team, sorry, and we have the best driver in the world, him or Fernando Alonso or whoever, right? How many races do you think he's going to win if we set him up with this car? Probably not too many. Okay, great. So let's get him the best car we can imagine. Great. How many races do you think he's going to win if the mechanic takes the entire afternoon to change the wheel during a race? Again, not too many, not too many. Okay, so we get the point. Let's create the dream team of racing, the best mechanics, the best racing strategist, everything. Well, guess what? The day of the race, it starts to rain and somebody, through no fault of our own, slides, crashes into us, and we still don't win the race. Okay, so then, how can we ensure that the dream team that we created can win the championship if we can't be certain of what's going to happen in the next race? Well, in an environment of uncertainty, we have to be consistent. Okay, we have to make sure that all of our team members, all of them, perform well, not 9 races out of 10, 14 races out of 10. Okay, and I mean, you must observe your trading rules every day, not most days, every day in every trade. Okay, now if you do this, you will win the championship at the end of the year, and you will also win quite a few races. You will be consistent, profitable at the end of the year, and you will also win quite a few trades. Now, having said that, what are the 5 trading dream team members? The right mindset. That's first. If you don't have it, you're done before you start. You have to be humble, stay humble. You have to know what your priorities are. You have to respect your objectives. You have to leave emotions out of the game, etc. Or as best as you can, because we're all human. Next, technical skills. Now, these include technical analysis, of course, using your broker, running scanners, reading your system, identifying signals. If you're going to be trading with the pros, you need to use your tools like a pro. This needs to be second nature. Then risk management. These are the set of rules that are going to prevent you from getting burned while you play with fire, because be under no illusion, that is what we're doing. And you will get burned every now and then. Next, capital management. These are the rules that are going to keep your trading account safe, sure, but also when you're getting amazing results because your system and the markets are best buddies and they get along swimmingly, these rules are going to allow you to step a little bit on the gas to make the most of it. And finally, constant adaptation. Guys, the markets are alive. They are forever changing, and we need to change with them. How do we do this? Well, first of all, you need to know very, very, very well what is it that you can expect from your system. And then you need to review all of your trades, all of them, and compare all of your results to your average result, to what you can expect. If everything is aligned, great. Smooth sailing, no problem. However, when you start to get outliers, that's a warning sign. You need to review that. Okay, so you go ahead and you review it. And it turns out that you did something wrong. Okay, so then what are you gonna do to correct your mistakes? Great, but if it turns out that you did everything by the book and you still got an outlier, maybe that's because the markets are changing. So then how are you going to tweak your strategy so that you adapt to the new scenario? Newcomers, including myself back in the day, think that this is an option. You don't have to do this, right? It's not sexy. I don't want to do this on Saturday morning. Big mistake. Big mistake. Doing this is going to fast track your learning like you wouldn't believe. It really does. Now, all of these 5 elements are equally as important. All of them. If you take care, if you perform well, you don't need the best system and the best everything, no, but you need good performance across every single one of these elements. If you observe that every single trade, I don't care if it takes 1 year or 10 years, you're going to be successful. That's the only outcome. That's it. However, I dare you to ignore one element, just one. It will not work out for you. Now, as an example of my day-to-day, the first thing I do in the morning, even before I turn on the computer, I literally, and nobody knows this, but literally give myself a pep talk. All right. I get my mindset right. I remind myself to respect my objectives, to assume my role as a student of the market, which I will forever be, right? Then I run my scanners, I identify some possible trades, I make sure that my system likes them, etc. Then I see how the markets are doing that day. I see how comparable stocks are performing that well, so I know what to expect from my trades, right? I look at different indicators to see if there's any indicator telling me not to take the trade. And I look for divergences, etc. Then I review my results, my latest results, to know whether I should play defense or I can afford to risk a little bit more, right? And then at the end of the day, that's when the fun begins. I get to write on my journal. I get to take a screenshot of all of my trades, write a summary of how I managed that trade, the mistakes that I made, how I'm going to correct those mistakes, thoughts that that trade triggered, or about the trade, about the market, about the system, anything, right? Then after a week, I'm going to review every single trade again, and I'm going to write some more thoughts in hindsight, right? Then I'm also going to grade myself on each one of these 5 elements every day, and I'm going to write a couple of lines, right, about how I performed that day. I'm also going to update my stats. And I mean, like I said, there is a lot of work that needs to be done after you're done trading, right? The day does not end at 4 p.m. And now I want to talk a little bit about what is it that COVID meant for the markets, all right? And by the way, when something goes to the moon, it's called a spike. So this gives you an idea of what you are going to see next, all right? What COVID meant for the markets was unprecedented opportunities across many sectors. In the beginning, it was technology, or basically any company that would allow you to stay at home. That shot through the roof. Then more recently, vaccine stocks, cannabis stocks too, electric vehicles. Those are like, up until half an hour ago, they were performing really well. Now it's more, today has been more like alternative energy, right? Cryptocurrency related stocks, etc. But I want to show you, this is the S&P 500. Okay, well, the SPY, which is basically the stock market. You see when the market jumped off a cliff in the early 2020, right? That's COVID. Nobody was expecting that sort of recovery. Everybody, including myself, was expecting a W-shaped recovery, right? Instead, what we get is that a few months later, today actually, we're setting like all-time highs on a pretty much daily basis. Last week was a little bit choppy, but if you exclude last week, it's like shooting straight up. Okay, what does that mean for companies? We are on Zoom, right? So Zoom, last March, it was between 110, 120. October 19th, 590. And if you look closely, at the beginning of August, this was slightly under 300. It doubled in 2 months. Okay, and I mean, this is not a small company. This is not a small company. It's very hard to go from 300 to 600, a lot harder than it is to go from 3 to 6. Now, another example. This is a electric vehicle company. I believe they make batteries for electric vehicles. This is a shady company. For many years, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything at all, right? Guess what? January 8th, it hit 56. Percentage-wise, that's a huge increase, all right? Another one, DocuSign, that's another technology company. It was doing 90 in March. September, 290. That's 3 times as much, right? And again, this is not a small company. So I could keep showing you guys as many slides as we wanted, but I think you get the point. Everything was shooting right up. Now, why? Why did this happen? Well, 2020 was a very bad year for many people. Many people were home because they were either in lockdown or because they lost their job. But the truth is that those spikes that you guys saw turned many heads, right? So that meant that there was a huge wave of inexperienced traders coming into the markets, and they were buying everything that moved. They were pushing the price right up, right? Now, the price being pushed right up meant that those extraordinary gains that people were seeing were sustained, and they kept happening. So guess what? That kept drawing more and more inexperienced traders into the game. Now, that's all fine and well, but what did that mean for more experienced traders? Well, like I said in the beginning of this section, I was expecting the W-shaped recovery, and I'm still waiting for a retracement, but it's not happening. And in the meantime, things are just going up and up and up and up. So we had to adapt our strategies, right, to be able to trade successfully in this market. And in my opinion, my personal experience, I found that shorter trades and looking more at the momentum of a trade rather than the, nitty gritty of the technical indicators gave me good results. Now, hindsight is 2020. So if I look at that, it's obvious that I should have bought, like I don't know, like in April and held, right? But you never know what's going to happen next. So um, that's what did the trick for me. Shorter trades, look at momentum, and that's it. Now, and this is a little bit of a gloomy forecast, but just like in 2018, Bitcoin created many millionaires that were not necessarily good traders, but they had been at the right time at the right place. Um, these guys developed a false sense of security, and you could see it. You could see it on Twitter. You could see it on YouTube, on Instagram. They were pumping their chest, saying that they were, they had figured out this trading business, right? When Bitcoin crashed, they all disappeared. They all disappeared because the markets, whatever you trade, the markets have a way of making you give back whatever you gain in a reckless manner and then 10 times more, right? So even though 2020 was a horrible year in the markets, it was a beautiful year for many newcomer traders, right? However, I fear that 2021 might not be as great, but we shall see, right? Um, the truth about trading is that it's not about making big gains over and over. And sorry for putting it so bluntly, it's about not making stupid trades, right? It's not hard to make money. What's hard is to keep it. And now I want to talk a little bit about my projects. Like I said in the beginning, I've been exclusively trading for a full time. So doing something else feels great, all right? And the first thing that you guys know this, I'm teaching privately, one-on-one. I also opened my YouTube channel, created my YouTube channel where I post all of my trades, win or lose, and I discuss them. I also post them on Twitter. More excitingly, however, I partnered up with a couple of programmers and we are developing a trading robot. Now, a trading robot is nowhere near as cool as it sounds. What it is, it's a piece of software that trades according to the instructions that you give it. That sounds great because a robot trades without emotions, which is great, right? That's what you want to do. But the catch is that, like we said, the markets are alive. They are constantly evolving. So you will soon find that robots become obsolete pretty fast, right? The companies that create them might update them, but not every company does it, right? And yeah, for the most part, the life the lifespan of a trading robot tends to be pretty short. What we want to do is we want to create a robot that learns by itself, that tweaks itself. To do this, there's going to be a lot of artificial intelligence, and please don't ask me how my partners want to do it because it is well beyond me. I don't know. Right? I just work here. But yeah, that's the end goal. Also, with these two guys too, I want to develop a technical indicator that summarizes my entire strategy. If I show you my workspace with everything that I look at, it's very messy. It's oh no, it's not messy. There's a lot of information that I look for. I look at many indicators across many time frames. I look at the stock market. What is the stock market doing? I look at the volume for the day. I look at the price action. I look at many things, and I want to summarize all of that, synthesize it into one piece of information that you can look at, right? And then you can decide whether to trade or not. But yeah, just basically make the summary of it and make it easy to follow. And finally, this is still in the pipeline, still a few months away, but I'm going to be developing educational material for an online platform that's going to be based in South America. And much like we started with a quote, I want to finish with another quote. All right. There's a time to go long. That means that we make money when the markets go up. A time to go short. That means that we make money when the markets go down. That's called short selling. Great. And a time to go fishing. You have to accept, if you're going to trade, you have to accept that the market is the boss of you. The market will do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. And you shouldn't stay there trying to prove the market wrong. It's very expensive to do that. Instead, what you should do is you should be able to recognize the times when you and the market are best buddies and you can hang out and everything is wonderful, right? And then the times when you don't want to be anywhere near the market, you don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because it's throwing a fit and nothing works, right? So whenever those times happen, it's best to just not trade, wait them out and go do something else, right? And don't take it personally. It's part of the game. It's part of the business. That's one thing that most newcomers don't realize. They show up to the markets every day wanting to trade. Not every day is a good trading day, and sometimes the best trade is no trade. Okay. All right. And on that note, I would like to welcome any questions that you guys might have. And also, thank you very much because before we start with the questions, this was one of the highlights of my trading career so far. I have been trading, for a time. That's great. But having been asked to talk about trading by my grad school, by ESADE, that's amazing. And I don't think it has hit me yet. It probably will later. But thank you guys for being here, and thank you, Pilar, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfonso. You know that I have asked you many times to
Yes, you have, but I wasn't ready. Now I am.
You're busy, and I know how busy you are. So anyway, I think Luis has a question, so I'm going to just give the platform for him to ask.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have talked about the importance of creating your own trading system.
Yes.
So, how have you created your own system? Which indicators do you think are the best ones to?
I very much like this way of asking this question because what indicators I feel are the best ones are completely irrelevant. you have to find the indicators that you like, right? Now, what I can do is I can show you my system, right? And you can adopt it. But the thing is that I cannot force you to trust my system, right? Nobody, no teacher, no book, no course can force you to develop trust. Not even yourself can will yourself to trust something. Only results will grow your trust, right? So you're going to use a system that you're not going to trust in the beginning, and you're just going to tweak it. You're going to tweak indicators, configurations. You're going to try different things until you find something that A, makes you feel more comfortable, and B, starts giving you results, right? Because it's comfortable enough for you to follow, right? If you're not comfortable with a system, you're not going to be able to follow it, and you're not going to get the results.
Yeah.
Now, to your question, what indicators I think are best? I'm going to answer it in a very general way because it's the only thing I can do. Anything that's momentum related, anything that looks at where the inertia is going in this current market, that's good, right? I once heard something sometime many years ago, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. That's true for stocks too. A stock in motion tends to stay in motion. Now, what you want to see is, does it have momentum? Does it have that movement going, right? Now,
So you see a lot, for example, the volume of transactions in the momentum, or
I look at the volume. I
or
look
more
at,
the tendencies.
it's a mix of everything. Honestly, all right. So I look at dollar volume, which means how much money, not how many shares, but how much money a stock has moved that day, right? Um, what's the relative volume of that stock? Well, what's the actual volume of that stock in this day compared to its average volume, right? Like if it's just average, then that tells me there's nothing special going on with that stock. If it's several times several times bigger, like 300% bigger, it's being traded three times more than usually. Oh, well, there's something going on with this stock, right? Then I start to look at, I do a lot of analogies, and I like to do a, moving car analogy. A car can move forward or backwards, right? I make sure that the car is moving forward and accelerating, and I make sure that there is gas in the tank, right? If I see that the car is moving forward but is slowing down, I will not take the trade, right? So in a nutshell, I look for every, I look for momentum forward in all of the time frames that I look at, and the fact that a stock is being traded a lot more heavily than usual tells me that there's something going on, like probably news or earnings or something, whatever, but the wind is on my back, right? So I look for a lot of strength, strength, strength. I'm sorry that I
And
can't.
talking about news, do
Huh?
you think it's like looking at the news could be counter effective?
Yes. The news are great, but you will never be the first to get the news. And the people that
Yeah.
truly matter, the people that truly matter, you can be sure they have already positioned themselves before the news are released, right? So either either you live with your finger on the mouse ready to get in, or it's very hard to trade based on news. Now, there are some plays, especially with penny stocks, that can actually trigger several days after the news hit, but that's hard to predict, right? Just reading the news, being like, oh, this company has the cure for COVID, great, and just investing there, that's hard. You have to be on top of your trades very much. Otherwise, it's chances are you're gonna get chopped out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you need to support that with a lot more technical stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have another question.
Okay.
So which broker do you think do you actually use?
I use a Canadian broker, my bank's broker, but I'm actually very happy that you're asking me this. The best broker is the one that gets in the way the least. That means that if you want to buy cryptocurrencies and that's it, then you should go with the broker that offers you cryptocurrencies and doesn't, you know, delay your executions, doesn't charge you too much commissions. Basically, a broker that gives you what you want, period. Many people ask me, oh, is interactive brokers better than Questrade or like Thinkorswim? Honestly, the broker just gets in the way. There is you, there is the market, and then there's a broker in between, right? You
Yeah.
want the middleman to be as negligible as possible. Just, like do what it has to do, period, right? Um, so yeah, I use my bank's broker. It is expensive, but to me, it's worth it because certain things that I look for, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's it
Thank you very
for
much for
me.
your questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Of course. Anyone else has any questions?
I have a
Randy?
question. I
All
don't
right, go
know
ahead.
how to put my hands up. You're talking about the strategy that you follow,
Uh-huh.
and I have heard you referring to how, depending how the trends change, you
Yeah.
need to adapt that strategy. So I'm wondering if you actually, at any given time, if you have one strategy that you use under any market condition, or do you have several strategies that
Right.
you choose from?
That's also a very good question, Pilar. Thank you very much. I definitely have several strategies, and it's there's nobody that calls me every morning and says, "Hey, it's time to use this strategy," or "It's time to use this other strategy," right? As an example, let me share this with you. One second. One second. There. Okay. Can you guys see my Excel sheet?
Yeah.
All right. So this is my bread and butter. I've done 4 trades, 100%. When I go in the morning, I usually make 20%. When I swing, which means buy today, sell tomorrow, I make 32%. That's great. On average, I make 26%. Great. This one, however, reversal, I took a 20% loss, right? So I know that right now, and another trade that I'm currently in, it's probably going to be about a 14% loss. So I know that reversals right now don't work, right? When I go for more price action-based strategies, if I swing it, guess what? It's doing okay, and I make 25%. If I take, if I take morning trades, you can see how I break all my strategies, right? So I know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. How do you decide, sorry, how do you decide what strategy to follow? You need to keep updating those stats and you need to see what's working. So right now, my bread and butter, buy it at the end of the day, sell it the next morning, that seems to be working great. So that's what I should be doing, right? When will that end? when my results start to change, and then I need to focus on what is working at the time. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Good
Yes,
stuff.
it does. But it's true. I find myself all my questions gearing towards trying to avoid uncertainty, which is what you started saying. If you're going to trade, you need to follow your strategy and sort of build up resilience towards uncertainty.
Yeah, actually, there's analysis paralysis, and there is fear of pulling the trigger when you're going to go into a trade. You know what really helps? Realizing that you have no chance. You have zero control of the outcome of any trade. Zero. It's not your job to know whether it's going to work out or not. Your job is to trade responsibly, right? When I think of that, I actually feel very relieved. Like, okay, well, if it doesn't work, it's not my fault. I just have to take the shot, right? But I'm not gonna show up to the gym and try to lift 500 kilos if I cannot do that. You know, if I'm only used to lifting 20, right? So it's a long process. It's a long process to teach your brain to accept this, and also to build your risk tolerance, and they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to monopolize the questions, so I will ask my last question. From all this scenario, what would you say is the greatest challenge?
To be a successful trader, what is the biggest obstacle in? Okay, well, it's obviously psychological. You have to be okay with the uncertainty of it all, because you have no idea when you're going to get paid next. Right? I'm not talking about, oh, is this trade going to work? More than that, you have no idea when you're going to get paid, and you have no idea how long it's going to take for you to achieve consistent success. And once you find it, you have no idea how long it is that, you know, that current strategy is going to work for, and when will you have to tweak it again. So there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of, okay, it's working right now. I have no idea if tomorrow is going to be a good day or not, right? You have to be okay with that level of uncertainty. And it is not easy in the beginning. It's definitely something that you have to build up, right?
Live. I actually have one last question.
Okay.
Given all what you're telling us, which is pretty scary, gloomy, and not, would you go back to work in the safety net of corporate world? Or does all this uncertainty pay off?
I found something that I look forward to when I wake up in the morning. That is more than I could say before. And like Luis was asking me about the prop trading firm, I would consider that, but that means that I would consider doing what I do for a firm, because I would have access to a lot more capital. Okay. Would I go back to a regular 9 to 5 in my cubicle where I do accounting or financial analysis? No. I never felt fulfilled in the corporate world. I never felt like I wanted to grow a project. And once I started to do this, I felt a degree of freedom that I had always wanted to have, but I didn't know that, you know, I needed, right? So would I go back to a regular 9 to 5? Not if I could help it. No. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for the question, Pilar.
Well, I wonder if anyone else, Randy, Ashley, do you have any questions? Luis, I know that he already asked.
Anybody?
Not really any questions. Just I wanted to. I didn't actually get to reach out to you earlier, Alfonso, about the just some material that I had to read,
Right.
and that actually does an excellent job of explaining uh, some of the answers to the questions that were actually just asked, such as the what strategies do you use, and do you use multiple strategies, and just kind of how to look at the market in general. One of the best examples that I was able to kind of capture from it was just the example of the markets being like a casino.
Or you are
And
the
the
casino, right?
Right, yeah, you ultimately want to be the casino, but the way that casinos operate, although they do end up paying out multiple times on multiple hands, and tons of people walk away with little winnings, and then other people walk away with big winnings. Um, they always have a slight edge because of the rules of the card games, and those edges are essentially what our strategies are.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, every day in the market is different, and you have to match the appropriate edge to whatever the market is presenting you with in order for you to take that role as the casino.
That is accurate. Yeah.
And again, exactly like you were saying, there's 100% uncertainty in the market, because one of the big takeaways that I got from that book as well was the fact that it only takes one trader somewhere else in the world to negate whatever it is that you think is correct, because if they have a differing opinion, that cancels it out, right? So it really only ever takes one trader.
He sorry guys, sorry Randy. He's talking about a book called Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas. It is about the psychology of trading, and it put me to sleep a number of times, but it is good,
Yes.
right? It is thick, it is dense, but there has a lot of value in it. Hold on, let me just. I'm gonna put the title in the chat.
Yeah, really, really good read, especially in preparing yourself psychologically for being part of the trading world, because it kind of explains things, although it's very long and drawn out, and he uses some kind of everyday examples. They sometimes get lost in the text because it sounds like he keeps repeating things
Yeah.
over and over and over again, but it's for a good reason, and it really exemplifies what the market is and how it will terrorize you psychologically if you don't
Yeah.
know what to
Um,
expect, right?
I when I was thank you very much for your input, Randy. That's honestly spot on. When I was talking to you guys about the 5 key elements of trading, all of them are super important. All of them are, but like you need to review your trades so you can learn. That's going to speed up your learning, sure, but also capital management. You have no idea how important it is. If you trade too big, you will not be able to follow the directions that the system is going to tell you, period, because your muscle will not be able to lift all the weight that you have, right? If you trade smaller than you think you can, that's where the magic happens, where you don't really care at all about the outcome of the trade. That's when you follow your system to the T, and that's how you go about it. You trade smaller than you think you can.
But this sort of trick that you're talking about is also actually to try to take away the emotion that you were saying that can play against you.
Yes, I mean, or if you guys are able to completely erase emotions from trading, please tell me how, because I don't know how. I'm human and I have emotions. But I mean, if I have $100,000 on the line, my emotions are going to be like, oh my God. If I have 50 cents, I still like to win, but doesn't matter whatever happens, right? That's what I'm talking about. Um, the amount of risk that you can take gets built up gradually. You cannot You cannot want to get, up your size too quickly, right? Mhm. Akshay, any questions from you, my friend?
No, thank you. That was like a really good insight on like trading. Don't have like an experience in that field,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was just like an intro, a really good intro for me.
Okay, good. I'm glad you think so. So again, guys, thank you so very much for being here. I mean, please, if you have any more questions or any thoughts, feel free to share. But I just wanted to thank you one more time. And also the questions are amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, everyone, it was a pleasure meeting you. I know that you're all, well, not all, Randy is not part of the ESADE group, but it's nice always to see two new alumni joining the group. And I'm sure that when we share, you let us know, Alfonso, where we can find the recording so we can share it with the other people in the group. And but we can talk about that later. And if there are no more questions, after thanking Alfonso for doing this and sharing this with us, and I will say good night to everyone, especially to Luis, which actually is good morning for you already, right?
Come on, pull an all-nighter. You're almost there. Pull an all-nighter. Come on. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
And have a good night.
Thanks
Take
so much.
Where we can find your YouTube channel?
I will. Yeah, you know what? Hold on. Let me just paste the link in the chat. 1 second.
Maybe I will ask Sarah to send an email to everyone who signed up with the link to your
Email.
channel and to the where to find the recording. Would that work, Alfonso? Would you like us to do that?
I will upload it tonight, as soon as I can anyway. That's the link to my YouTube channel. As soon as the video is uploaded, I can send you the link, Pilar, and we take it from there. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you guys very much.
Thank
Guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye. Bye.